Good morning, Flagstaff in Northern Arizona. Welcome to Fifth Quarter Arizona. I, of course, am neither Danny Neal or Tyrone Johnson. I'm Russell Woods. You know me around town as Mr. Flag Coco, Coconino High School class of 87, ASU class of 2022, and I'm looking forward to another good show. Um, with us today, you've seen him on this show and you've seen him around town. My co-host for today is a Flag High grad and best known these days as the head coach for NAU softball. Please welcome to the show, Tommy Hernandez.
Hey, Russell, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. It's great to see you, and it was great to see you at the Flag Cocoa Spirit Awards last week. You helped me out, and I appreciate you always being there for me.
Absolutely. It's always an absolute honor, uh, being your guest at the awards, as we recognize all the young athletes from Flagstaff. We always seem to get a great group of young student athletes that are excelling both academically and athletically. So it's fun.
Yeah, they do our hometown proud. I do want to give a shout out since all the graduations are now done. So, whether you're a Panther or an Eagle, a Spartan, a Yeti, whether you went to Ponderosa or Summit, and I'm probably leaving one or two high schools out. Congratulations, class of 2023. Uh, Go out there and take on the world and make your mark and do your hometown proud.
Absolutely. Congratulations to all the graduates. Looking forward to what you all do and bring back to our community. An exciting class. I know a lot of young students graduating this year, and I know they're all going to go out and do great things for us.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Um, what do you have planned going on since we're now starting the summer break? With your team or with anything else? What's going on with NAU softball this summer?
Yeah, so we don't do much in the summer. Everybody goes back home. Handful of kids stay in town, and we'll do some workouts here and there. And yeah, I do a lot of individual training with softball and stuff, so that keeps me busy. Still try to play a little old man softball, some slow pitch. So I'll be out at the fields a little bit, trying to not get hurt.
Yeah. I can tell you this much. Tomorrow, I take my wife to the airport. She's spending most of the summer back east in Indiana and Ohio visiting her daughters, which means I get to do Mr. Flacoco all summer, which means I get to go to camps and maybe watch some tournaments and do the things I don't normally get to do because well, she's not watching. She doesn't like this. She doesn't like Mr. Flacoco, and don't ever call her Mrs. Flacoco.
I'm sure yeah, it takes a lot of time and dedication for you to be Mr. Flag Coco. So I'm sure it takes a little time away from her, but that kind of brings us to our regular our hosts. They're out at June Ball, right? Tyrone and Danny.
Yeah, they're starting Flagstaff hoops. They're starting their tournaments this week, I believe next week, and then Nobby's coming up. The big Native American tournament's coming up in a couple of weeks. This is what they do.
Yeah,
Coaches coach.
absolutely. That's what they do. Yeah, exciting.
Mhm. Okay, this week's guest has been part of the Flagstaff community for about 50 years. Um, as an athlete, as a coach, as an educator, as a mentor, as an administrator. Uh, these days, he's working with Coconino Community College, getting their athletic program off the ground. He's also a board member with Caveat, uh, concerned with vocational training. Please welcome to the show, Mr. Doug Allan.
It's a pleasure.
It's
Yeah,
great to see you, sir.
yeah.
Um,
Morning, Mr. Allen.
yeah, I posted about you on Facebook that you're going to be on the show, and I got a nice warm reception for it. But for those who haven't heard your name, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Well, I could waste a lot of your time, Russell, but I'll do my best not to. So I landed in Flagstaff in 1977. I came here to go to NAU, and I wasn't planning on staying, but had a hockey program, and I was playing at that point. I wanted to get an education, but as fate would have it, I met my wife here, Jill, and we've been married for 42 years, and 3 kids later, 3 grandkids, we're still here. So that's what brought me here.
So, Mr. Allan, what was it about the Flagstaff community that made you and your wife want to stay here?
Interesting question. I was a part of the NAU Division I hockey program as an assistant coach from 81 to 86. And I thought I was going to be a paid coach for the rest of my life. But as fate would have it, the program was dropped. The rink was in the dome and it faltered. The state came in with a budget cut, so the program was dropped. At that point, my wife, who is an educator, was hired as a full-time teacher at Mount Ella Middle School. And so we decided to stay then. I got into construction for a few years and then got fortunate by being hired by Bill Epperson, Russel, who you know well, Tommy, you too, hired me as a teacher at MEMS. And then 4 years later, I was hired as the director of career and technical education for Flagstaff Unified School District. And I did that for 20 years. So a great career for me. I got very, very lucky. I'm very fortunate and grateful that things worked out this way for us.
Well, if you were picked by Epperson to go to MEMS, I guess that's about 1982, 1983.
It was 1987 when I got there.
Okay. Just a little after my time. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
You're Canadian born.
Right. Don't
How
hold that against me.
How do you get from Saskatchewan to Flagstaff in the first place?
Good story. I tried to be a player, and in Canada, you guys are sports guys. You probably know the hockey in particular in Canada is operated by the junior system. So it's not necessarily a part of the educational system. So if you're good enough, you can play junior hockey for teams in each province, which I was fortunate enough to do. I played in the Saskatchewan Junior League with the Estevan Bruins. And then I graduated, got a little bit older, and I played for a team called the New Westminster Bruins in a suburb of Vancouver, which is the major junior hockey. And out of that team, I was drafted by the NHL and the WHA and didn't make it. Wasn't good enough to make the professional level, where I wanted to be. Ended up in Amarillo, Texas. Was there for 2 years, went to Amarillo College, start my career in education. And then that league was called the Southwest League. It was dropped. And I had an older brother going to NAU, and he recruited me. I never had been to Flagstaff before, didn't know anything about it, but they had a hockey club. So I felt this was the place for me, and turned out it was, pretty well. So that's my journey.
That's an amazing journey, and Flagstaff's lucky you ended up here. I remember going to the hockey games out at the Dome. Was the hockey rink always there?
So yeah, that's a good story as well. I think Dr. Walkup, president of NAU at that time, wanted to build a multi-purpose facility, and the hockey club was playing what's now is called the J. Lively Arena. In those days, it was the Flagstaff Arena, and so he had a vision of saying we could do a lot of things in this arena. The hockey club was successful. We had great records from the early 70s into the late 70s. And he recognized that, and they put a rink into that dome. So the rink was finished in 1977 when the dome was almost completed, but it wasn't a good design. The rink faltered, and after a couple of years, it started not functioning properly. So the rink brought us there, but it was ultimately the demise of the program as well. They do have club hockey now at NAU, but it's all played at the J. Lively.
Right. Yeah, they have a pretty solid team now. Go ahead, Russell.
Yeah, Russell. So your question about did it make a difference, coaching and getting into teaching, and it was connection. I think because I was coaching the kids in town, that when the job didn't did become available at Mount Ella Middle School, then it was a natural progression for me. So
Mhm.
it allowed me to know some folks and then to be around kids, and I loved it.
Mm. With that progression also led you to um, get into vocational education. Um, Go ahead. I was going to say you were the director of career and technical education, and you're now a board member at Caveat. Could you tell us a little bit about Caveat?
Sure. Well, my degree coming out of NAU was physical education and industrial education. And so that
Mhm.
allowed me to, my degree led me into vocational education in Flagstaff and FUSD. So then I became the director of career and technical education, did that for 20 years. And part of my tenure there was when Caveat, which is an overlay school district, not many people know about it. It's been around a long time, but it's been a godsend.
Mm.
And so Caveat stands for Coconino Associations for Vocations, Industry, and Technology. And the voters of Flagstaff voted that in. It's a minimal tax. And that money is to support all those CTE programs at each high school. So automotives, construction, nursing, welding, interior design, culinary arts, all those things now are supported by the funds that come in from Caveat. Now, not only that, but our high school kids are allowed to take classes at Coconino Community College, which is allows them to at the high school level to gain community college credit. So I'm on the board of Caveat. It's an elected position. I got as an interim thing, and I've been there for a couple of years now. And Caveat runs from Fredonia to Page to Williams to Grand Canyon and Flagstaff. All those school districts are connected, and Caveat supports all those CTE programs in each of those communities.
That's amazing. Those programs are so important. There's still things that I use today that I learned from industrial arts classes from Mr. Wheeler at Flag Junior High School, and just so many great things. And those are very important programs. Glad to see them
Well,
continuing.
Tommy, it really is. I mean, you can see we talk about athletics now, but when I see kids coming through our high school programs and benefiting from those CTE programs, I ran into a kid the other day that went to Coconino High and has done great things in automotives and welding. And so, yeah, it's not something we hear a lot about, but it's there and it's a tangible thing.
Yeah, you talked about Coconino Community College, and that segues me into what I really wanted to talk to you about is their athletic program. You were part of getting the cross country team off the ground. How do you start an athletic program when there wasn't an athletic program? How do you start it from
This,
scratch?
this is one of my favorite stories too, Russell, because I felt athletics. I mean, for all of us, that's why we're talking today. We're all
Mhm.
athletes, right? And we have that background. So athletics gave me a chance when I was a kid. And so I still feel that today that we're in the same place where if we can provide opportunity somehow, some way, that we should be doing that, pursuing it as best we can. Coconino Community College never had athletics because of the cost. I taught for 20 years. I would talk to people and they say, "Well, Doug, we created this community college with the idea to keep tuition costs down. If we create an athletics program, that means they have to pay for it. The students eventually would have to pay for it." And I never really saw it that way, but I understand that. So in 2000, it was around 2018, 2019. Uh, the community college has a foundation, and a man named Scott Talboom was the director of that foundation, and he got to know Reggie Eccleston. You guys know Reggie, right?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Reggie's a great guy. He got involved and just starting the conversation. He got on the foundation board. He started talking about his past, and he played football at the University of Connecticut,
Mhm.
and he's a very great speaker. Talked to the folks about opportunity, and from that led into more conversation. I got involved because I know Scott and a man named Andy Phillips, who was a banker in town, in one of our preliminary meetings said, I can donate about $5,000 to get this thing started. So that was the genesis of getting this going. And we said, well, what sports can a community college support in Flagstaff? So we talked about everything, but running became the focus because we're dripping with talent. It's all over northern Arizona. So successful at Coconino High and Flag High, the basis and NPA, uh, the reservation schools, Page. I mean, championships all over. So that started that process of what could we do. So we came up that what does it cost then, and where does the money come from? So we had fundraisers. We had a few fundraisers, and people started donating. And so for 2 years now, the COVID put it on hold for a while, but it got started. The CCC folks said, all right, let's get this done. The money all comes through the foundation, all donations. It's not part of the community college budget. And for $40,000, that was the kind of the goal to get this thing started. The kids were recruited. A coach, Craig Hunt, was hired. The first year was, as you might imagine, just a preliminary. Let's get this thing started. Competing at the junior college level in Arizona, there's lots of competition with the Phoenix schools, Central Arizona, Pima in Tucson. And so second year came around, and more kids came in, and lo and behold, they took some of the kids to, or most of them, I think, to the national championship. And a little gal named Haley Burns. Now this is NJCAA Division II. A little gal named Haley Burns won the national championship.
That's
So
absolutely
yeah, and the team came in fourth. The women's team came in fourth, and so it's that whole thing, right? If you dream it, it may come true. And so I was just a part of it. A lot of people. Diana Sanchez. Do you know Diana at all?
I do not.
Yeah, she's the director of the foundation now, and she is also been named the athletic director for CCC. So the question is now, what else? This is a good start. So track and field seems like would be the next logical choice to happen over there, because the program right now is only cross country.
Mm-hmm.
And then what about beyond that? And so when you think about CCC in Flagstaff, that entity was created to provide a niche that wasn't there. People who wanted to go to school that weren't really ready to go to NEU or whatever. The other part of this is how many kids, you guys see it like I do, how many kids from Flagstaff, after they're done their high school career, athletes, go to a school outside of Arizona?
Way
Lots,
too
right?
many.
Yeah.
Way
Yeah.
too
Yeah,
many.
lots, right? And so this is not against NEU, not against the coaches, because I was one of them. Those people, the coaches there are going to bring in kids and athletes that are going to help them win. So if you're a Flagstaff kid and you're not quite ready for NEU, where do you go? Well, you might go to another state, going to go to another university, another college, whatever. My feeling is that CCC is just a great place for a lot of kids. If Danny and Tyrone were with us today, we would talk about the Flag High kids. Where do they go? What happens to them? I would argue, and they won the state championship this year, right?
They win the state
Again,
championship just about every year.
what's your
Yeah, right. They're very, very competitive. And they all have great athletes. And so with CCC, could you have women's basketball at CCC? I would say, yeah, you could. What about soccer? What about softball, Tommy? What about that? Could that happen as well? So
absolutely?
I think there's a lot of potential there. I really do. And Russell, as we talked at the very beginning, money is a driver, right?
Mm-hmm.
How does it happen in Flagstaff? There's not a lot of that around. So Diana Sanchez, I have great belief in her. The foundation is the vehicle, and if as they gather more support financially for things like cross country or track, I think you'll be able to see other programs as well.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. I mean, not only is there such a massive talent pool going from, high school to now community college to, world-class athletes making this their home. Um, all you need to buy is shoes, I mean, it's not like you've got to, rent an arena and you've got to have all the equipment and and infrastructure. You just, it's about as simple a program as you can get off the ground if you want to get off the ground right away.
Exactly. And we don't hear a whole lot about. I'm sure you haven't heard a whole lot about cross country program at CCC, right?
I
I'm
have.
hearing, yeah, I'm hearing more
Um,
about it.
I
Yeah.
mean, yeah. I mean, we talk to people. People we're in the, but it does take a little bit of word of mouth, and then the Daily
Yeah.
Sun to be writing, and to
Yeah.
keep it in fresh in everybody's mind. But I think it's starting to gather traction around town.
Cross country is an interesting sport because it's not where you sit in an arena and watch kids participate, right? If you
Right.
go to a cross country meet and you want to watch kids, you got to run too. Like if you go to
Yeah,
Buffalo Park, you got to run around there if you're going to watch those kids.
yeah,
So, so here's the thing about cross country. It's like you look at the success that NEU's had, it's off the charts, right? I mean, they're the best in the country, but you don't see it on TV much. You have to really be a fan of that to know what's
Mhm.
going on. So cross country is for an example, if you want to watch kids run in Flagstaff at the collegiate level, you're going to go to Buffalo Park maybe once a year, and that's going to be about it. So you have to kind of pay attention to that. So, but it's there and it's working. And again, for me, it's about opportunity. If we have kids going to CCC because of athletics and they're getting a second chance, maybe, then that's even a better story. So it's a good start, and we're hoping that it'll continue to grow.
It's been great to have you on. This is the point in the show where we start wrapping things up, and Danny does his little da 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 da. At some point, Tommy and I need to get our own theme music.
right, right.
Every superhero needs his own theme music. But that's always the cue for us to do our golden nugget question. Um, Tommy, do you have something that you want to ask him about life in general,
Yeah,
coaching?
absolutely. We could talk all day, and I've really enjoyed listening to Mr. Allen, and I'm blessed to be on this show with you today. And so many questions come to mind. But one thing I want to ask you is, with all of your years of experience in education and coaching, what advice would you give to this younger generation of student athletes here in Flagstaff?
For me, it's always about paying attention to your opportunities. I've seen a lot of kids that have great talent, and they say, I think I'll go a different direction. But we talked earlier about kids going out of city or out of state to go to school. What I see is that if you have that talent and you have desire, there's going to be a place for you. I mean, Tommy, you talked about wrestling before, and I've known some kids in Flagstaff who like to wrestle, but they didn't want to leave town. And maybe when they get
Right.
into the 30s or 40s, maybe they go, I should have done it, you know? So my greatest advice is pay attention to those opportunities. This whole CCC thing we just talked about, I don't really know those kids, but I hope that they embrace what's been given to them and do the best they can with that. So my best advice is pay attention to the opportunities that come along to you.
Great advice.
That's a perfect last word to end this show on. Thank you so much for coming on. Uh, I will let's get you back on because it sounds like we're just getting started. I mean, there's so many more things we could talk for another half hour
Oh,
about not about a whole lot of other things, but also the things we've already talked about. Uh, we could get a lot out of you.
well, fellas, you made my day. As you can tell, I love talking sports. I talk too
Mhm.
much. I know I blab too much, but I love it. And anytime you want to do it again, let me know. I'd be happy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. Great talking to you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Good luck to you guys.
Thank you. Have a
Take
great
care.
day.
Well, Tommy, we made it through.
Yeah, a few glitches there, but
It wasn't pretty, but we landed this thing.
right. Yeah, what a great guest. I didn't know a whole lot about him, just about what I had read, and I agree with you. We've kind of probably talked for hours.
Well, we were, you and I were kids growing up in the Flagstaff he was starting to create. When we talk about Flagstaff being a community and close knit and all these great coaches that have been around 30, 40 years, he's at the top of that hill. Our generation and everyone that's come after us benefits from a Doug Allan or a Danny Neal or a Bill
That's
Epperson or Rudy Baca.
abs-
And
absolutely.
hopefully in a couple years we add Tommy Hernandez to that list.
Yeah, absolutely. He names a few of my, my great mentors that I look up to. I also want to send a shout out to Mr. Robert Joe, who passed away recently, who was my one of my coaches and mentors. That came up in the South Side, but everyone in Flagstaff Junior High School that went through their PE class wanted to have arms like his. So
Mhm.
God bless him and his family. But yeah, a lot of great coaches coming through and help us along the way.
Okay. Uh, that's gonna wrap it up for another edition of the fifth quarter Arizona. Uh, as much as we had some glitches, but I hope between Tommy and I, and especially Mr. Allen, we were able to rise above it and give you something that was worth watching. If you like this video, give it a like. If you like what we're doing as a team between Danny and Tyrone and Tommy and me and everybody that puts this thing together, then get on YouTube and smash that subscribe button.
Let's go.
It's time to go. I know I got a full day of work. I know Tommy's got to work. So uh, if you don't have, I can't do it. I can't do it like they do. I can't just say you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. So I will say it's 3 o'clock at the pub, huh?
Right, we're
Uh,
signing off.
Everybody have a great day. Enjoy your summer and drive safe. Don't start no wildfires because they suck.
Absolutely. Thanks everybody for tuning into the fifth quarter. It was an absolute honor being a guest host today, and stay safe and see you next time.